Welcome to Biology for Bastards, teaching biology in the most profane way you've ever seen or heard. I'm your host, John Doty. Thanks for listening. Holy shit, everybody. Like, what the fuck? This is episode 34, and it's the last episode of season 1. What the fuck? Like, I never expected it to get here. But I'll do all that touchy-feely shit at the end. Let's just get to it. That's kind of our MO. Just diving right in. We're on this season, I can say have now because it's pretty much done. We have gone through the AP Biology curriculum one chapter at a time. And this week we are on chapter 56, Conservation Biology and Global Change. It's a real uplifting one about how we're fucking up everything. So let's just get in. So, what the fuck is conservation biology? That's a good question. Basically, you're trying to unfuck everything, is what it is. So there's the biodiversity crisis that's happening, which is this decrease in the variety of life on Earth because we're in the middle of a mass extinction because, as I said, we are fucking everything up. Most of the extinction is being caused by human-caused activities. It's anthropomorphic in that sense. And we're just, like I said, fucking everything up. There's 3 levels of biodiversity that we really concern ourselves with, and we are affecting all of them. There's genetic diversity, which is, the diversity of all the shit. What do I want to say? Just of all the available genes in the gene pool of a population. So the more genetically diverse the population is, odds are the better it's going to do in a crisis. We're fucking that up. We have species diversity, which is just all the different species present in an ecosystem. Again, fucking that up. And then there's ecosystem diversity, which is all the different variations of ecosystems. And again, fucking that up. So we're fucking everything up at every level. At the ecosystem level, at the population level, and at the gene pool level within a population. We're just fucking it up. And there's really 4 ways that we're fucking everything up. That's going to be the phrase of the day. It's fucking it up. Because that's what we're doing. We're fucking it up. It being the planet, it being life, it being everything is just getting fucked up because of what we're doing. So the biggest threat to biodiversity, the main way we're fucking shit up, is by habitat loss. We are altering a habitat. We're altering various habitats. And that is, one, destroying the habitat because we're taking a wetland and turning it into farmland so we can develop on it. We're taking a forest and turning it into farmland so we can develop on it. We're just taking everything and making it more human friendly. And that's, like I said, the single greatest threat to biodiversity. And then once we do that, but also it doesn't, it's somewhat disconnected. We have this idea of introduced species or invasive species coming in, overcrowding, outcrowding the native species, and just fucking it up that way. That's kind of really affecting the species diversity. In the Everglades of the United States, there are some bird populations that have decreased by 97, super high 90%, by the introduction of pythons. People got them as pets and they're like, holy shit, this fucking snake is so fucking huge, I don't want it anymore. And being geniuses, they were like, I'll just put it outside because it's a fucking snake and that's where snakes live. And then it pretty much ate every rodent and every bird in the Everglades. So, yay, Florida. But it's not just Florida. There's things going on in Australia. Bunny rabbits, terrifying little creatures they are. They're an invasive species down there. Most of my examples are from the United States because that's where I fucking live. So sorry if you're from out of my country and I don't have any relevant scenarios for you. just know there are introduced species there where you're fucking stuff up just as, well, I almost said just as much as the United States, but we're really fucking shit up. You're just kind of fucking shit up. So there's that one. There's the introduced species. There's overexploitation, where we are over-harvesting shit. So we really like it for one reason or another. So we are just taking all of it and not doing it in a sustainable way where we can do it for a prolonged period of time. We being Americans, white Europeans, pretty much almost drove the American bison to extinction because of over-exploitation hundred something years ago. And then the last one is change at the global level, where we are changing the climate, the atmosphere, the connection of the various ecological systems, and again, going back to the phrase of the day, just fucking shit up. It's really depressing. Like I said at the beginning, I said it was a real upper, and that was a full crock of shit. Just a full-on line. So there's ways that we can try to prevent shit from falling apart. And it's basically, at this point in time, trying to stick a band-aid on a gushing wound. But there is one really cool thing that some places are starting to take advantage of when they do create fragmentation of habitat. So when they do develop something, and it's usually with a road, it splits a habitat in two, and then, you have problems with animals trying to get from one side of the road to the other because they've got to dodge cars and trucks and vans and various motor vehicles. So they've introduced movement corridors. And these can be like green overpasses where they basically make a land bridge over the road that allows the wildlife to safely climb over the road and go from one side to the next. So it's little connections between the environment that used to be one big thing, but then we decided the fucking road needed to go right through the middle. So we're like, let's do these little movement corridors so things can go from habitat A to habitat B. There's also some that go under the roads, but it's all about just trying to keep it as connected as possible while we're fucking shit up. Another way we're fucking shit up is the eutrophication of various water sources. So we have all these fertilizers we're using because we need to produce more and more food. And before I go on, don't just think if you buy organic, there's not fertilizer used. They do use fertilizer. They do use pesticides. They're just different ones. And talking with some farmers, they may not work as well as the new ones. So organic doesn't mean, you're not fucking shit up. You're still fucking shit up. You're just fucking shit up for a higher cost and smaller food. But that's a difference. I'm going to get on a tangent, and I don't feel like doing that today. It's already enough of a downer. So, eutrophication. What the fuck is that? So, all this fertilizer, all these pesticides running off from agricultural systems goes into aquatic ecosystems. And when that happens, you get algal blooms, which we have discussed. It's just a shit ton of algae growing. And then once all those nutrients go away, that algae dies. And as it dies and decomposes and everything, it's going to reduce the oxygen available in the water. And as a result of that, the aquatic life, the fish, the invertebrates, everything that rely on that oxygen to survive are going to die. So that sucks. That's just ruining aquatic ecosystems. Things where you're like, oh, well, we're not going to get there. We're not going to be able to fuck that shit up too much. Just kidding. Yes, we do. Also, a way we fuck shit up is through acid rain. And it could be acid rain, acid snow, acid fog, just acidic precipitation. And that's just anything with a pH less than 5.5 or so. So it's not like burn your skin off acid. It's just more acidic than normal. And what it is caused by is the burning of fossil fuels. You get sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxides in the air, mixing with the precipitation, mixing with the water, and it's making sulfuric and nitric acids. And as that rain downs, it can affect the pH of aquatic ecosystems. It can affect the pH of the soil, which affects the growth of plants and stresses them out. It also causes damage to man-made structures. Anything especially made out of like limestone and shit is going to be easily damaged by acid precipitation. I've got a picture of the statue in the notes, which you can get at biologyforbastards.com. And it's a 60-year difference between this statue of an angel where it was like, oh, that's clearly a humanoid angel personoid. That was a weird word. Okay, and then it just turns into a blob 60 years later because of acid precipitation. So that is acid precipitation. We've talked eutrophication. We need to talk about biological magnification, which is, you've probably heard about when it comes to mercury in fish. You're not supposed to eat so much of certain types of fish because of the mercury content. So what happens is at the lowest level in the food web, there's not a lot of this toxin or pollutant or whatever. But as it moves up the food web, they become concentrated, the toxins and the pollutants and everything, become concentrated in the body tissues. So as it moves up, it becomes more and more concentrated in the bodies of the consumers. So when you get to top predators, it is very concentrated. And perhaps the most infamous scenario, or the most infamous example of biological magnification has to do with DDT. I don't even know what the fuck it stands for. I was just making that shit up. But DDT was a pesticide that was used, and it was really fucking good. It just killed the shit out of all these bugs. But we noticed that big fish-eating birds like California condors, bald eagles, all that shit, they just started disappearing. And we found out it was because their shells of their eggs were very thin, very brittle because of DDT. So their birth rate just disappeared, and those birds almost disappeared. And there'd be a lot of Americans who would be really fucking pissed if the national bird went extinct. So we stopped using DDT. Those populations are slowly recovering, but that's biological magnification. Nowadays, the big problem, or the problem that gets most recognition, is the amount of mercury found in fish. So, what other happy things are humans doing that are fucking shit up? We are fucking with the ozone. So, the ozone layer is really good. Okay, it's a layer of ozone, as its name implies. And what it does is it protects us from ultraviolet radiation. And that's good. Now, there are various chlorine-containing compounds that destroy or erode the ozone layer, and the most infamous of those are CFCs. I do know what that stands for. Those are chlorofluorocarbons. So we've banned those, but there's still some chlorine-containing compounds out there being used that are slowly harming the ozone. So letting more ultraviolet radiation in, increasing the amounts of skin cancer, all this shit that is just fabulous when you sit and think about it. Just amazing. Let's see. Other ways humans are fucking shit up. The greenhouse effect. Now, the greenhouse effect is a natural phenomenon. That's good. If we didn't have the greenhouse effect, the average temperature on the planet would be about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or like we're talking single digits on the Celsius. And right now it's like 20 something Celsius, or like 70 or 80 Fahrenheit. So we're talking a huge difference, barely above freezing. That would be the average. So the poles, the temperate regions would probably be under ice, and we'd have a warm little belt around the equator. But the problem is carbon dioxide, methane, all this stuff that we humans are adding to the atmosphere are increasing the amount of greenhouse effect that is taking place and making it much worse. So what it's doing is it's absorbing extra heat, reflecting it back to the earth, and causing climate change. And climate change is the phrase you want to use. You don't want to use global warming, because global warming implies that everything is getting hotter. Yes, the average temperature on the planet is increasing, but it's not increasing evenly across the board. There are some areas where it is getting much colder, because what it's doing, this climate change, is it's disrupting currents and airflows, and it's causing this reconfiguration of the climate. So there's studies predicting the amount of carbon dioxide. If the amount of carbon dioxide doubles, we'll have roughly a 3 to 4 degree Celsius increase in the average Earth. That will cause polar ice caps to melt, which will disrupt the salinity of the ocean and the ocean currents, and flood coastal areas, and all this fun shit that we're just fucking up. God damn. It's so depressing. Oh, why is this the last chapter? It's like we had this awesome run of some really fun chapters, and before we go, let me just depress the shit out of you. So, climate change fucking sucks. Floods, droughts, crazy rain, crazy heat waves, crazy hurricanes, crazy this, crazy that. It's all connected. There's a reason storms have gotten crazier in the last couple years. There's a reason there are bigger droughts. There's a reason the storms are dropping a shit ton more rain. There's a reason records are being broken every single year. And it's because humans fucking suck. That's the moral of this whole season. Humans fucking suck. You suck. Your best friend sucks. I suck. Humans just suck. We're fucking garbage. That's it. That's it. That's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the season. We're just going to leave it with that. But I am going to change gears. And I do want to get all sensitive and emotional with you. I started this podcast 34 episodes ago on a total whim. It's something I had thought about doing, and I just did it to give myself something to do over the summer. I didn't expect to keep going throughout the school year. I definitely didn't expect to do it 6 months later. I'm doing it all because you are out there listening to it. You are taking something away. I got into teaching because I love biology and I wanted to share it with everybody. And this podcast has allowed me to do that at a scale that I never thought was going to be possible. So I just want to thank you specifically listening right now, everybody along the way. Thank you to everybody who follows on every social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I got a fucking TikTok. Like, what the shit? At Bio for Bastards on all of those. Everybody who's checked out the website, everybody who continues to check it out, who continues to listen, thank you so much. Thank you for all the positive words, all the positive reviews. Thank you to all the shout out. Just thank you. I cannot stress how thankful I am for everybody who listens and enjoys the show. We definitely, I promise, we are going to be back with season 2. I don't know when that's going to happen. hopefully the spring, summer at the latest, we are going to be doing evolution, all about it. I've already got the book picked out. It's called Evolution. It's the 4th edition by Futuma and Kirkpatrick. I will get that thrown up on the website, so if you want to follow along, I'll put that up whenever I get season 2 stuff put together. I am going to keep releasing the remediation episodes, because if you are listening to this preparing for AP biology, it'll take you up right into the biology exam, which is going to be here sooner than you think. So with all that shit said, thank you so much for allowing me to do this, and just for actually giving me an audience. I cannot stress that enough. You're my favorite bastards. And our intro and outro music is the song Feeling Good by Purple Planet Music. Always got to say that. I've been John Doty. I still am, but I am John Doty. I've been your host. And until next season, holy shit. Thanks for listening.